In last class, we are discussing on the problems of heat exchangers. In this session also, we are continuing with the same. The next problem that we are discussing is, I am going to read the problem now. The velocity of water flowing through a tube of 22 mm diameter is 2 meter per second. That means some quantity of water is flowing through a tube which is having a diameter of 22 mm and the water is flowing with a velocity of 2 meter per second. The steam is condensing at 150 degrees Celsius on the outside surface of the tube. The steam which is at 150 degrees Celsius and it is condensing. We know that the condensation takes place at the saturation temperature and therefore the temperature of the steam remains constant. That means it condenses at 150 degree Celsius. Its inlet temperature and outlet temperature remains the same. Okay, on the outside surface of the tube heats the water from 15 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius over the length of the tube. That means the water temperature rises from 15 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. Here 15 degrees Celsius is inlet temperature of the cold fluid and 60 degrees Celsius is the outside temperature, the outlet temperature of the cold fluid. Neglecting the tube and steam side film resistance, we need to calculate what is the heat transfer coefficient value and length of the tube. And in the problem, he has given the property values for the water at the average temperature. That means the average of 15 plus 60 is 75 degree divided by 2, 37 at a temperature of 37.5 degrees Celsius. He has given the values of the property values for water. If he has not given, we need to take the values from data and book at the average temperature of the fluids, means inlet plus outlet temperature divided by 2, the average temperature of the fluid. We need to take down the property values from the data and book. In this problem he has given, in the problem itself there is no need to take any values. This is what the problem he has given. The water is flowing through a tube which is having a diameter of 20 mm and the steam which is flowing over the tube, it is condensing at a temperature of 150 degrees Celsius. You take any substance, the change of phase takes place at constant temperature, at saturation temperature. Therefore the steam is condensing over the tube through which the water is flowing and it is transferring heat to the water. Therefore the temperature of the water rises from 15 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius and the steam is condensing at a constant temperature of 150 degrees Celsius. The problem is on condenser. Okay, here the problem is on condenser. This is what the values are given. The inlet and outlet temperature of the steam which remains constant, TH2 equals TH1 equals 150 degrees Celsius. The water is heating from 15 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. The temperature of the cold fluid TC1 is 15 degrees Celsius and the temperature of the hot fluid, temperature of the cold fluid at the outlet is 60 degree Celsius, and he asks us to find the heat transfer coefficient value. From the data and book we are having equation for Nusselt number equals H into D by K, where H is heat transfer coefficient, D is the diameter of the pipe and K is thermal conductivity of the water which is flowing through the pipe. Using this equation we can find the heat transfer coefficient value H, but here in this equation we know the value of diameter of the pipe and thermal conductivity of the water, but we need to find Nusselt number. to find Nusselt number, first we need to find Reynolds number, which is given by the equation rho Vd by mu. Rho is density of the water, which is given 990 kg per meter cube. Velocity of the water which is flowing through the tube is also given, which is 2 meter per second. The diameter of the pipe is also given, mu. The kinematic viscosity is also given, dynamic viscosity value, which is also given. Substituting these values, we will get the Reynolds number as 62,322. From the data and book, now we need to take down the equation for Nusselt number. Since the water is flowing through the pipe in forced convection, in convection concept, go for internal flow. The convection, in the data and book, he has given equation for external flow and internal flow. Go for internal flow. In the data and book that I am using, the equations for internal flow are given in the page number 124. The page numbers may vary depending on the edition. Okay, in internal flow, if the Reynolds number value is less than 2200 for internal flow, then the condition is laminar. But we got more than 62,000, therefore the flow becomes turbulent. Go for, in the internal flow, go for turbulent and go for fully developed flow. If the Reynolds number lies between 2500 to 1.25 into 10 to the power of 6, means 1,25,000, more than 1,25,000 up to 1,25,000, it is considered as fully developed flow. And if we go for the equation for the Nusselt number is 0.023 into Re to the power of 0.8 into Prandtl number to the power n. The n value is 0.33 for cooling of the fluids and n value is 0.4 for heating of the fluids. Take down the equation. Nusselt number equals 0.023 into Re to the power of 0.8 into Prandtl number to the power 0.33 from the data and book. To take the equation in convection, go for internal flow because the flow is taking place through tubes. In internal flow, if the Reynolds number is less than 2300, consider the laminar equation. Since the Reynolds number is more than 2300, consider the turbulent equations. In turbulent, go for fully developed flow equation. You will get this equation 0.023 into Re to the power of 0.8 into Prandtl number to the power of 0.3. Now we already know the value of Reynolds number. We need to find Nusselt number, we need to find Prandtl number, which is given by mu into Cp by K. The equations for dimensionless numbers is given in the page number 112. You can take the equation for Prandtl number from page number 112 before external flow. The equations were given before the equations of external flow. The equation to find Prandtl number is mu into Cp by K, where mu is dynamic viscosity, Cp is specific heat, and K value is thermal conductivity of the water. By substituting all these values, we can find Prandtl number, which we got as 5.426. Now substitute this Prandtl number and Reynolds number in the equation of Nusselt number. You will get Nusselt number as 274.97. Substituting this value of Nusselt number in the equation of Nusselt number, we can find the heat transfer coefficient value as 6771.7 watt per meter square. He asked us to find heat transfer coefficient value and length of the tube. We already found heat transfer coefficient value. The next is to find length of the tube. Here you can see he has given three temperatures: inlet temperature of the hot water, outlet temperature of the hot water, and the inlet temperature of the cold water fluid. Since all the four temperatures were given, inlet and outlet temperature of the hot fluid, inlet temperature of the cold fluid, outlet temperature of the cold fluid, the problem can be solved using LMTD method. From LMTD method, we are having the equation Q is equals to U into A into theta suffix m, where U is overall heat transfer coefficient, A is surface area through which the heat transfer takes place, which is given by pi d L, and theta m is nothing but LMTD. LMTD for a parallel flow heat exchanger is given theta 1 equals is nothing but the temperature difference on the left hand side. Theta 2 is nothing but the temperature difference on right hand side. On the left hand side, the temperature difference is TH1 minus TC1. On the right side, TH2 minus TC2 for a parallel flow heat exchanger. Substituting these equations, we can find theta m value. Next, to find the length of the tube L, here in this equation the unknown is Q, which can be found by using the equation mH into Cph into Th1 minus T2 or mc into Cpc into Tc2 minus Tc1. The heat transfer value Q can be found by using these equations, but here the value of mc is not given. That means mass of the fluid, any of the fluid, mass of the hot fluid is also not given, mass of the cold fluid is also not given. But mass of the cold fluid can be found by using the equation area into velocity into density. Area into velocity from continuity equation gives the flow rate, multiplied by the density gives mass. The area of the pipe can be found by pi d square by 4, since the diameter of the water, the diameter of the pipe through which the water is flowing is given. We will get mc as 0.753 kg per second. Substituting this value in, we got the value of mc. Now in the equation of Q, which is given by U into pi d L into Tm, theta suffix m, we got the value of theta m, we got the value of Q, pi is known, d is known, U overall heat transfer, L we need to find, which we asked us to find, and U value, since he asked us to find neglecting the tube and steam side film resistance, since he asked us to neglect the resistance offered by the tube and steam, there is no need to find the U value. We can consider, since he asked us to neglect all the resistances, we can consider the H value. Itself as the U value directly. Substituting that in the equation, we can find L. Since he asks us to neglect the resistance offered by the pipe and steam side resistances, we can consider the heat transfer coefficient of the water itself as the overall heat transfer coefficient, and substituting that value here, we will get the length of the heat exchanger, which is 2.74 meters. Okay, the next problem is, I am going to read the next problem. 8000 kg per hour of air at 100 degrees Celsius. The air is flowing at a rate of 8000 kg per hour and it is at 100 degrees Celsius, is cooled by passing it through a single pass cross flow heat exchanger. It is an cross flow heat exchanger but a single pass. Okay, and to what temperature is the air cooled? If the water entering at 15 degrees Celsius flows through the tubes unmixed at the rate of 7500 kg per hour. That means here the heat exchanger is an mixed flow heat exchanger. And the air is cooling from 100 degrees Celsius to some temperature, and we need to find what is the outlet temperature of the hot fluid, that means air. And the water is entering at 15 degrees Celsius and it is heating, observing the temperature of the air, the heat content of the air, it is getting heated. And we need to find what is the outlet temperature of the water, that means what is the outlet temperature of the cooling fluid. And he has given the value of overall heat transfer coefficient and the Cp of the air, Cp of the water, everything is given in the problem itself. There is no need to take any values from the data and book. We can observe here he has given only the two temperature values, the inlet temperature of the hot fluid, that means the air, and inlet temperature of the cold fluid, that means the water. Since only two temperatures were given, the problem can be solved using NTU method or effectiveness method. In heat exchanger, if the values of temperatures given were less than 2 or equal to 2, that means out of 4 temperatures, if the only two temperature values are given, then the problem can be solved using NTU method or effectiveness method. If the temperature values given were more than 2, that means 3 or 4 temperatures were given, then the problem can be solved using LMTD method. Here in this problem only 2 temperature values were given, therefore the problem can be solved using NTU method or effectiveness method. The data given is mass of the hot fluid is 2.22 kg per second. I converted 8000 kg per hour into kg per second dividing by 3600, and the Cp value of the air, that means the hot fluid, is 1000 joules per kg degree Celsius. He has given in kilojoules, I converted into joules. And temperature of the hot fluid, inlet temperature of the hot fluid, which is air, is 100 degrees Celsius. Similarly, I converted the mass of the cold fluid, that means the water, into kg per second. 0.611. Sorry, this is not there. Mass of the cold fluid is 2.08 kg per second. And Cp of the cold fluid, that means the water, is 4200 joules per kg degree Celsius, and inlet temperature of the cold fluid is 15 degrees Celsius, and the area of the heat exchanger, the surface area of the heat exchanger is given, which is 20 meters per meter square. And he has given the overall heat transfer coefficient as 500 kilojoules per hour meter square degree Celsius. I converted that into watt per meter square degree Celsius. 500 kilos, 500 into 1000 divided by 3600, because kilojoules per hour is given. It gets converted into joules per second, that means the watt per meter square degree Celsius. Since the problem can be solved by using effectiveness method, the effectiveness can be given by the equation C suffix h into Th1 minus Th2 divided by C minimum into Th1 minus Tc1, or C suffix C into Tc2 minus Tc1 divided by C minimum into Th1 minus Tc1. We are having these two equations to find effectiveness. In the problem he has not mentioned whether it is an counter flow heat exchanger or a parallel flow heat exchanger, therefore it is impossible to use the equations of effectiveness for parallel flow or counter flow. We can't use both the equations because he has not mentioned whether it is an parallel flow heat exchanger or counter flow heat exchanger. We need to make use of general equations of effectiveness to solve this problem, since he has not mentioned whether it is a parallel flow or counter flow. C suffix C, that means the heat capacity of the cold fluid, can be found by using the equation M suffix C into CPC. Mass of cold fluid into specific heat of cold fluid gives the heat capacity of the cold fluid. Similarly, we can find specific heat of hot fluid. Comparing both, the heat capacity of the cold fluid is minimum, therefore we can consider it as C minimum, and heat capacity of the cold fluid is higher, and we can consider it as the higher, that means C max. We can find the value of heat capacity which is given by C minimum by C max. There is no need to remember all these equations. In the heat exchanger, if you go for your data and book, for heat exchangers, all these equations were given in the data and book itself in the page number 152. In the page number 152, all these equations were given. For hot fluid, he used capital T1, the inlet temperature of the hot fluid. For inlet temperature of the hot fluid, he used capital T1, and for cold fluid, he used small t1. Don't get confused, the notations may change but the equations remains the same. All the equations which I used in this problem were given in the data and book itself. Capacity ratio, which is defined as C minimum by C max, can be found, which is 0.254, and similarly the NTU value, which is given by U into A by C minimum, can be found by using the equation, since the data is given in the data problem itself. Now once we find the capacity ratio and NTU values, the effectiveness can be found using the graph for effectiveness from the data and book itself. For effectiveness, he has given different graphs. For parallel flow, for counter flow, he has given for 1 shell pass and 2, 4, 6 tube passes he has given. But our problem is, it is an cross flow heat exchanger, single pass cross flow heat exchanger, and both the fluids are unmixed. Both the fluids are unmixed. Therefore, for the effectiveness graph, go for cross flow both fluids unmixed graphs. There are different 5 to 6 graphs over there, but go for cross flow heat exchanger. Here you can see cross flow heat exchanger and both fluids unmixed. Go for these graphs. Using the values of capacity ratio and NTU, you can find effectiveness value as 0.63. On the left side, he has given 0, 10, 20, 30, 60 in terms of percentage. What the value you are going to get? Keep it in decimals, that is 0.63. Now substitute this 0.63 in the equation of effectiveness. You will get the values of TH2 and TC2. He asks us to find to what temperature the air can be cooled. By solving these equations, it is found that the air can be cooled to a maximum of 46.45 degrees Celsius. That completes the problem.